Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prajanine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Vastavya Nishadanine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda I sing this melody with one bhajan. The bhajan is by Chandidas. Now, Chandidas is a poet from before Lord Chaitanya. And when Lord Chaitanya was in Gambhira, in a mood of lamentation, Sir Damodar Ramananda Roy used to recite to him poetry in moods of separation. And they used to recite things from Chandidas. I don't know if I can get it. So, this one song, it's in the mood of Srimati Radharani, who are just in the eve of Radharani's prince day, just the day after tomorrow. So it goes like this. Radharani is saying, my dear Saki, who is that person who first made me hear this name, Shyam? When it enters my heart through my ears, I become overwhelmed with impatience. Saki, I don't know how much sweetness fills this name. It is so sweet that my tongue will not leave it for a moment. Now, this is attachment to the name. As I go on repeating this name, I become completely absorbed. Oh Saki, how will I ever be able to meet him? There's a couple more verses, but I would like to just focus on these two. And teach you one line. Now, this is Srimati Radharani who's saying these affectionate words in regards to the name. Now for us, we can also say, who has given me this name, Shyam? Because within this name is the solution to everything. Everything. The solution to everything in our lives is in the chanting of this name, Shyam. So we can also pray like this. Of course, we can't so easily say, you know, when it enters my heart through my ears, I become overwhelmed with impatience. Maybe we're not there, I would think. We also cannot say, it's so sweet that my tongue will not leave it for a moment. As I go on repeating this name, I become completely absorbed. How will I ever be able to meet him? But we also cannot say the last verses of Shikshashtakam as being our own realization, because those are verses in the realm of prayer. But the first line, that we can say easily. Who has given me this name? It's giving me so much. However much it is giving us. Maybe it's not, most likely it's not giving us praying. Maybe we don't have that feeling. But there is a relief to be gotten in a way, in a knowing that by chanting this name, praying will come. Bhakti Devi will give us. So let's see this first line with this melody. I'll tell you the names. It's in Bengali. Any of you speak Bengali? It's not so far from Hindi, so I think most of you speak some Hindi. So, Keva, Sunailo. So, Keva is who? Where is that person? Sunailo has made me heard. Shyamanam. So it's pretty easy. Only two new words is Keva and Sunailo. So let's sing it along with this melody. Thinking about it, right? Who has given me this name? I owe so much to this person. Keva Sunailo Shyamanam. Keva Yeah. was there in Gambhira and all his days in Puri, one day he became very distraught. Now, I have a rule when I tell stories. Those who have been at Vaishnavi retreat before will know that if I say something that's sad, especially evening time stories, then I want to hear you say, "Oh no." And if I say something that's funny, then I want to hear you laugh. And if you communicate like this with me, then you will get more from me. Otherwise, I might fall asleep. So this is why I ask that all the mats come close, and please come as tight as possible, because we're a family and we're together. All right? So I'm reading from Sitala Mataji's book. Now, Sitala is my senior in every way. And for years, she's been absorbed in previous acharyas' lives. And she decided to publish her writings on Narottama Das Thakur. When I first was reading this book, I had one thought as soon as I got a few pages into the first chapter. Oh no, one day this book will end. This is such a book. So she was trying to make it here for the Vaishnavi retreat and couldn't. So when I heard she couldn't come, I asked her if she would allow me to represent her and her book at the Vaishnavi retreat. So I will be reading from it, and there are only a few copies available here. They've all been signed by Sitala, wishing you well in your absorption in the Vaishnavacharyas. So after we finish our reading this evening, I'm sure these will be all gone. So, Srila Chaitanya, so we start here. Suddenly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped dancing. Standing motionless, he stared intently into the distance and fervently called, "Narottam! Narottam!" His body trembled and tears poured from his eyes with uncontrollable force. Overwhelmed with ecstatic love, he grabbed onto Nityananda Prabhu for support and then collapsed to the ground. And he rolled in the dust, crying again and again, "Narottam! Narottam!" No one knew who's this Narottam. None of them were called Narottam. Bewildered by the Lord's sudden outburst, the devotees stopped singing. Glancing at each other with uncertainty, they gathered around the Lord and softly sang the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We're waiting for his ecstatic trance to abate. Kneeling, Sri Nityananda Prabhu whispered sweet pacifying words into the Lord's ear. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, simply threw his arms around Nityananda Prabhu's neck and continued to cry. Worried, Nityananda Prabhu turned to Vakreshwar and Haridas. I've never seen him shed such profuse tears. Hoping to revive the Lord, Vakreshwar led the devotees in loudly chanting the names of Lord Jagannath. Hare Jagannath! Hearing this, the Lord regained his composure. Sitting up, he wiped the tears from his eyes and motioned to Nityananda Prabhu to come closer. Nitai, he whispered, you know that Sankirtan is everything to me. It is my very life. I want everyone in this world to taste the nectar of the holy name. But soon, you and I will leave this world. Who will spread this chanting after we are gone? flame of love I have brought into the world, burning. Before I leave, I must empower someone to carry on this wonderful Sankirtan movement. I have such a wealth of love of God. I must leave it with someone. But who is qualified to inherit such riches? My Lord, said Nityananda softly, you know everything. Only you can answer that question. Is there anyone capable of carrying on your mission? Who is worthy of inheriting your love? Yes, Nitai, there is someone. His name is Narottam. Narottam, Nityananda Prabhu asked, who is Narottam? Just a few minutes ago, you were calling his name and trying so hard I feared for your life. But I don't know of anyone named Narottam amongst your associates. Narottam has not yet appeared in this world, the Lord replied, but soon he will take birth nearby on the other side of the Padmavati river in the town of Keturi. Narottam will be such a wonderful devotee that every word coming from his mouth will be filled with love of God. Anyone who sings his praises will certainly attain love of God. If I leave my love with him, it is certain that the nectarian ocean of Sankirtan will continue to flood the universe. Puzzled, Nityananda inquired, but if Narottam has not yet been born, how will you give him your love? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled. Tomorrow, I will enter the Padmavati river and deposit my love for Narottam to receive in the future. At the appropriate time, you must guide Narottam to the riverbank to collect the divine treasure that awaits him. The Lord then stood and resumed his chanting. That evening, the devotees spoke among themselves in hushed voices. Who is this Narottam the Lord called for? No one, except Nityananda Prabhu, could answer, but he remained silent. The following morning, the kirtan party moved slowly along the sandy footpath, chanting and dancing as they sang the holy names. As they reached a clearing in the trees, the deep blue of the Padmavati river came into view. At the riverbank, Nityananda Prabhu turned to the devotees and stopped the kirtan. Watch carefully, he said. Something extraordinary is about to take place. As Nityananda said that, he said, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to place his divine love into the Padmavati river. Sometime in the future, this love will be given to a devotee named Narottam. The devotees watched curiously as Sri Chaitanya stepped with his lotus feet into the water and slowly waded towards the river's center. To their amazement, the placid river swelled with joy. Transformed by the Lord's touch, the water appeared to dance in glee, swirling and gurgling as it rose higher and higher. Within moments, the river overflowed with ecstasy, spilling over its banks and gushing onto the land. All at once, an extraordinarily beautiful woman rose from the waves. She stood before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with folded palms, her silken garments shimmering in the breeze, and her jeweled crown sparkled in the morning sunlight. She asked humbly, "My Lord, how can I serve you?" "O goddess of this river, Padmavati Devi," Mahaprabhu said, "I want to leave my transcendental property in your care. Please take my love and keep it with you until a devotee named Narottam bathes here. At that time, deliver this love to him." "Yes, my Lord," she replied submissively, "but how will I recognize Narottam?" "When a young, dark-complexioned boy who is filled with love for God enters your waters, causing them to surge and flood the bank as they did today, you will know that is Narottama." "But But my lord, she asked, if this boy has so much devotion and his touch will cause me to overflow with ecstasy, even before he has received your divine treasure, what will his condition be after receiving your love? Don't worry, the Lord interrupted. Narottama will sustain my love. When he comes, simply give my love to him. Quivering with joy, Vaishnavi received Mahaprabhu's love, offered her obeisances, and disappeared into the receding waters. The devotees who observed this exchange stood transfixed, mouths agape, and eyes wide in astonishment. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu turned to them and said calmly, begin kirtan. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
In due course, the king of Kituri and his wife, both devout Vaishnavas, gave birth to a son. The astrologer looked at his chart and said, oh, it's very dangerous for this boy to get anywhere close to the river. Something is going to happen. You have to keep him away from the river. So the king, he had money. So he enclosed this area properly, and he dug a pond so that he could learn how to swim without having to go, and he could enjoy swimming without having to go to the river, because astrologers said the river would be very dangerous. He grew up having an unusual taste for hearing katha all the time about Krishna. Was his favorite thing. And at one point, he knew there were other things behind the wall he wanted to see. He wanted to go there. So, also as he grew up, he didn't have any interest in his father's business. He only liked to hear about Krishna. So in his youth, I'll start from here. So the parents were a little worried about his state of mind. So his mother, Narayani, father is Krishnananda. Narayani says, she sat down next to her husband, her face tense with worry, and she said, Prabhu, I'm concerned about Narottama. He's become indifferent to everything. Now when you're listening to this, there's many reasons why I chose to read about this portion, because everyone here is either a parent or someone's child, or both. And although we're devotees, sometimes we may have reservation with our children's desire to get involved in Krishna consciousness. We want them to be good devotees, but we want them to also have a good footing in the material world. This seems to be a popular trend. So when you're hearing this story, I want you to really put yourself in the shoes of Narayani and Krishnananda, who had this Narottama, who was a jewel of a son in every way. And see how you would have acted in such a situation. And if you have no children, maybe your situation is closer to that of Narottama. How would you have dealt with your parents in such a situation? So Narayani sat down next to her husband, her face tense with worry. Prabhu, I'm concerned about Narottama. He's become indifferent to everything. His mind isn't on his studies anymore. He shows no interest in village affairs. He doesn't even enjoy playing with other children. He seems interested only in hearing Krishnadasa's stories and doing puja. Narayani wrung her hands in despair and looked at her husband for his advice. She added, "It's fortunate he has such a strong spiritual inclination, but too much detachment is unnatural and unhealthy for a boy that age, especially for the son of a king. What will become of him?" Krishnananda, you see what I'm saying? Does it ring a bell?
Yes.
You know, what will become of him? He doesn't want to do his study, he just wants to do Harinam. Is that anyone here so fortunate to have such a child? I think maybe, at least on occasion. What will become of him? Krishnananda furrowed his brow. What you say is true. I don't know what to do with him either, he said, shaking his head. He's no longer a child. He has to start thinking of his future responsibilities. He seems overly detached from everything worldly. I'm getting old. It won't be long before he'll have to relieve me in my duties. Besides, it's good he's a religious boy, but he seems too carried away by it all. We are kayastas and must manage the affairs of our village and collect taxes. Narottama too will have this responsibility. He's our only son. He's getting too old to behave as if he were a sadhu. Krishnananda sat silently, lost in thought. Finally he turned to Narayani and announced, "I think I know what we can do. Let's arrange Narottama's marriage. That will ground him and wake him up to his responsibilities." Narayani agreed. Confident they had found a solution, she and Krishnananda began to search for a suitable bride. Now meanwhile, Narottama lay on his bed, staring into the darkness of night, his mind spinning. I can't bear to hear another word about property management and collecting taxes. I've absolutely no interest in those things. I just want to dedicate my life fully to the service of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He sighed deeply. I want so much to be in Vrindavan. I desperately want to meet the personal associates of Mahaprabhu who are still living there. The Sri Rupa, Sanatan, Raghunath Das, many of them are very old. How much longer can they remain in this world? I have to get there before it's too late. Now those of us who know the song composed later, Ye Anilo Premadana, in that song he laments that everyone has gone. So Narottama lay awake with these thoughts for a long time. Finally he decided, I see no other alternative, I have to leave home. Now again, think, you have a son or a daughter who wants to hear nothing about going to college or university, who just wants to be a devotee. And you're thinking, maybe this should be grounded, maybe if I arrange a marriage, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. That's too much Krishna things. You're thinking like this. And that child is thinking, I'm going to have to leave home. Not that there's no attachment, but there is a higher attachment. Late into the night, as sleep overtook him, Narottama had a startling vision. Sri Nityananda Prabhu appeared before him. The Lord's face was more beautiful than millions upon millions of moons. He had a tall, strong, heroic stature. His hands, arms, and legs were beautifully formed, and his eyes resembled lotus flowers. He wore golden earrings, armlets, and bangles. Smiling, he told Narottama, "Go at once to Padmavati river to bathe." He's not allowed to go to the river, but this is what Nityananda told him. Padmavati Devi has been keeping a gift for you, and she will deliver it when you come. She's been waiting for you. Then Lord Nityananda disappeared. How are we doing with translation and understanding? Everybody's following?
That's why I can fit.
Yes, let's see. I'm just thinking of everybody's understanding. Narottama woke with a startle. Astonished and overcome with transcendental ecstasy, he jumped out of bed. He had to get out of the palace and down to the Padmavati immediately. Afraid he might be seen by one of the ever-protective household servants, Narottama decided to climb out through his window. He stacked the furniture under a small window high up on the wall, and scaling it, he then squeezed through and pulled himself out onto the roof. As silently as possible, he slid down to the heaps and dropped quietly to the ground. By the arrangements of Providence, the sun had not yet risen, and there were no guards in sight. Of course, I'm just reading sections. So there is a section before when, upon hearing him always talking about going to Vrindavan, his parents put guards on him. And you better watch him, this boy. He can't leave. Narottama rushed towards the Padmavati river, softly chanting the holy name all the way.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
When he reached the bank, he bowed down in the moist earth and then stepped into the shallows, calling out the name of Gauranga. Gauranga! The cool, dark water swirled around his legs and immediately began to rise higher and higher. Within moments, the river's waves surged over the banks and onto the land. Narottama suddenly saw Goddess Padmavati Devi standing before him. Shocked, he stared at her with wide eyes. Padmavati Devi smiled warmly at him. "Before you were born," she said, "Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this divine love in my care and instructed me to give it to a boy named Narottama, whose touch would make my waters rise in the same way they did when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself came here. Clearly, you are the rightful recipient of this most extraordinary gift. I've been waiting for a very long time for your visit. Now, please take this topmost treasure." Hariva! Saying this, Padmavati Devi moved towards Narottama with outstretched hands, holding what appeared to be a radiant golden lotus flower. Without warning, the goddess Padmavati disappeared, and Narottama was astonished to see the golden lotus transform into a luminous golden-colored boy. This exquisite form, which was none other than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, danced towards him and entered his body. Narottama felt Mahaprabhu's essence engulf him. Powerless in the grip of the Lord's ecstasy, he shouted, "Gauranga! Gauranga! Gauranga!" As the Lord's love infused his every limb. Narottama's swarthy complexion lightened. He used to be very dark, but after this happened, some mix of complexion happened, right? It's transformed his skin into a beautiful golden color. His skin also slackened, and he shivered and trembled uncontrollably. The current of divine love that coursed through his body was so intense that Narottama couldn't contain his emotions. Staggering out of the water, he laughed, he cried, he sang, he danced furiously on the banks of the Padmavati, lost in the ecstasy of love and oblivious to everything around him. Narottama was abruptly brought back to external consciousness when he heard his father's frantic shout. "Naru, Naru, where are you? Look, there's someone over there." It doesn't look like Narottama. "Oh, my dear Lord, what has happened to my son?" Squinting in the pre-dawn darkness, Narottama saw a large crowd of people rushing towards him with torches. To his surprise, he heard his mother's hysterical voice. "It is Naru! Can't you recognize your own son? Look, he's wearing Naru's ornaments." Narayani ran to where Narottama stood and kissed his face again and again. "Naru, Naru," she cried, "why did you sneak up like this? Why didn't you tell us where you were going? We were so frightened when we found your room empty. We searched everywhere for you." I was frantic. Taking Narottama's face in her hands, she looked at him in bewilderment. "What has happened to you? Why do you look so strange? What happened to your skin?" Her voice shook. "Are you all right?" I'm fine." Narottama managed to stutter as he tried to compose himself, but thoughts of Lord Chaitanya again surged in his heart, and he pulled away from his mother, yelling, "Gauranga! Gauranga! Gauranga!" Tears of ecstasy streamed from his eyes as he danced around the crowd and confused relatives and friends. Krishnananda gasped at his son in disbelief. "What is this bizarre behavior?" Cried, "It's like he's possessed by a ghost. I've heard a terrible Brahma Rakshasa lives in this tamarind tree over there. Perhaps he has entered Naru's body. This is horrible. Let's get him home." Bewildered and frightened, Krishnananda grabbed hold of Narottama. Narayani pleaded with her son. "Stop this, Narottama. Please come home with us now." With great difficulty, they managed to get their son home and into his bed. Realizing the anxiety was causing, Narottama tried to calm himself, but the golden lord he had seen at the Padmavati appeared within his mind, and he again became wild. Thrashing about on the bed with tears shooting from his eyes, he called, "Gauranga! Gauranga! Gauranga!" Suddenly, his mood changed, and he began to laugh loudly. Several times he tried to jump from the bed, but Krishnananda forcibly held him down. All the while, Narayani was frantically fanning him to cool him down. Concerned relatives and friends stood around Narottama's bed, all of them helpless and perplexed, as the boy repeated over and over, that boy, golden, my body, entered." Not knowing what else to do, Krishnananda ordered one of the servants, "Bring a tantric to help cure my boy." An exorcist soon arrived and began chanting mantras, waving peacock feathers in front of the boy's face. Narottama, however, continued to flail his arms and legs and mumble incoherently about a golden boy. Finally, the exorcist turned to Krishnananda and said, "Don't worry. It's not a ghost in your son's body." "What do you mean?" Krishnananda demanded. "Just look at him. He must be possessed." "No," the exorcist said. "He's simply suffering from an imbalance of air. I suggest that you rub jackal oil on his stomach to cure him." Saying this, the tantric left. Eventually, Narottama stopped thrashing and, exhausted, fell asleep. Krishnananda and Narayani sat next to his bed, utterly confused. Narayani sobbed miserably. My child, my dear son, please, please, be your sweet normal self. Krishnananda's face was pale and drawn. I tried, he said, tears welling up in his eyes. I tried my best to give him everything to make him happy, to keep him away from the river. Now just see his pathetic condition. I cannot bear to see my son like this. He heaved a deep sigh and looked at his wife. We can only pray he will be all right. Narottama continued to cry incessantly all the next day, and his worried parents continued to watch over him helplessly. Krishnananda tried to tell Narottama what the exorcist had said. Narottama, however, only laughed. Do you think he can cure me by killing an animal to make medicine? Please do not commit this sinful act out of blind affection for me. Oh, Pita, can't you understand? I'm not haunted by a ghost and I have no disease. I'm feeling intense love for the Supreme Lord. This is what makes me cry. Krishnananda and Narayani looked at each other blankly. They had never seen anyone behave like this before. They were simple, pious people, but they knew nothing about the exalted states of extreme devotion to God. His parents stepped out of Narottama's room to talk. I believe Narottama is telling the truth, Krishnananda said. Perhaps he's not haunted by a ghost. Perhaps he had some sort of extraordinary mystical experience when he went to the Padmavati the other night. That would account for why he can't think of anything else. I think the golden boy he speaks of is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But he's just a child. Narayani stopped. What kind of religious experience could a young boy have? She wrung her folds of her sari in desperation, crying, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Krishnananda shook his head. I don't know, but I think he will be all right in time. Go now and rest. I will stay with him. Despite these reassuring words to his wife, Raj Krishnananda sat silently, tormented by remembrances of the ominous words of the astrologer spoken so many years ago. Rivers are dangerous for your boy. Are you getting bored? Should I keep reading?
Yes.
Narayani was beside herself. For days she watched Narottama cry incessantly. Nothing she said or did made any difference. She begged him, Narottama, please tell us how we can help you. We can't understand what has happened to you. Why are you crying in such a pathetic way? Narottama was sad to see his parents distressed. He loved them very much and didn't want to hurt them. But he knew he was no longer the little Naru. He'd been touched by the love of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and would never be the same. He couldn't stop the tears of love of God that constantly welled up in his eyes. He tried to reveal his heart to his distraught mother. Mother, if you really want to help me, then let me go to Vrindavan and dedicate my life to the Supreme Lord's service. That's the only medicine for my disease. Let me go to Vrindavan and become healthy. Narayani was shocked. She grabbed hold of her son and cried, don't even think of such a thing. You can't love God. You can't love God here in your own home. We would rather drink poison than live without you. Don't speak about this anymore. Don't even think of such a thing. Seeing his mother's state, Narottama said no more about it. He simply asked for something to eat and fell silent. By the time Narottama had finished eating, Krishnananda had returned home for the day. Narottama thought his father might be more understanding. What can I do, Krishnaji? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has entered my body and transformed my mind. I can no longer stay here. I must go to Vrindavan. And then Narottama was again overcome with ecstatic emotions. crying and shivering, and he called out,
Gauranga, Gauranga, Gauranga.
Then fell to the ground unconscious. Krishnananda cradled his son's limp body in his arms until Narottam's eyes fluttered open. Tears rolled down his cheeks as he spoke softly to Narottama. The father is crying. The father is crying. And he says, my son, why do you keep talking about going to Vrindavan? It's not necessary for you to go anywhere to lead a spiritual life. Any of you have relatives who have said that to you? It's not necessary for you to go anywhere to lead a spiritual life. Everything you can do in Vrindavan, you can do here. We eat only prasad in this house. We listen to Shastric discourses. The Supreme Lord is here in our home as the Sharagram Shira. Why don't you dedicate your life to His service right here? What's the problem? Narottama sat up and looked lovingly at his father. Yes, Peter, what you say may be true, but I'm not content simply following the family traditions and rituals. I don't want to live a comfortable, pious life of sense enjoyment. That's only the skeleton of our religion. I'll read this again in case you missed it. I don't want to live a comfortable, pious life of sense enjoyment. This is only the skeleton of our religion. There is no soul in it. Without elevation to Krishna consciousness, through the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, life is simply spoiled in the animal propensities of sense gratification. I want to dedicate my entire life to the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I want to give myself completely to Him, mind, body, and words. To me, only that is real life. Everything else is death. Any of you want to dare repeat this with me? I want to dedicate my entire life to the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
I would like to dedicate my entire life to the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
I want to give myself completely to Him.
I want to give myself completely to Him.
Mind, body, and words.
Mind, body, and words.
To me, only that is real life.
To me, that is my real life.
Everything else is death.
Everything else is death.
Don't think it's so easy to live like a sadhu, Naru. Krishnananda said, it's very, very austere life. You are a prince. You could never live like a sadhu. It's not in your nature. Of course, it's a nice idea to leave everything to become a follower of Mahaprabhu. I would also like to join his mission. But Naru, you must also be responsible. We have our own duties to perform. We are the patrons of so many Vaishnavas here in Kituri, and they look to us to feed, clothe, and protect them. Don't you think Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would be pleased of you if you cared for his devotees? Narottama fell silent. His parents would never understand. He wondered whether Vrindavan would forever remain an unattainable dream. And as he wondered, his throat tightened and tears welled up in his eyes, spilling over into the torrential crying that his love for God evoked in him. What happens next is, see, Krishnananda was a king, but he worked under a Muslim ruler. And the Muslim ruler requested the presence of Narottama. So Narottama had to leave. At the time he pretended that he was happy to just be there because he couldn't Didn't know what to do. Didn't know what to do. Without elevation to Krishna consciousness through the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, life is simply spoiled in the animal propensities of sense gratification. I want to dedicate my entire life to the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I want to give myself completely to him, mind, body, and words. To me, only that is real life. Everything else is death. So one night, oh yes, so this is where, right. So a few days later, he tried to pacify his parents by appearing normal, but he couldn't really. A few days later, the horseman arrived with a message from the king. What is it, Prabhu? Narayani asked with concern. It is from the Nawab. He's heard about Narottama. Narayani raised his eyebrows. What does that mean? Krishnananda put down the letter and took a deep breath. Well, it seems Narottama's unusual behavior has drawn attention. He looked at Narayani with concern. He says he wants to meet Narottama. Narayani nearly fainted at the thought. Oh no, she cried. Krishnananda sat back in his chair, his face solemn and pale. The very idea of Narottama leaving them disturbed them. What can we do? Although I'm considered the king here, I'm only allowed to govern at the pleasure of the Muslim rulers. I'm their servant. If I don't do as they ask, they may be trouble. He leaned forward and touched Narayani's hand to reassure her. Don't worry. I will send a convoy of armed guards to protect Narottama. Narayani looked mildly relieved. She closed her eyes and sighed reluctant agreement. When Krishnananda told his son about the trip, Narottama knew this was the chance he'd been waiting for. The next day, numerous guards assembled in front of the palace with the palanquin ready for the journey. Narottama lightly stepped into his palanquin, apprehending that his freedom was finally at hand. Narayani was on the verge of tears. She pulled her son tightly to her chest. Hurry on, Naru, she said, her voice choked. Then she kissed him on the cheek. When you return, we shall begin preparation for your marriage. Narottama smiled. Narottama smiled sweetly at his mother. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. The procession headed north, passing through one village after another. Narottama watched intently from his palanquin, waiting for the right moment to escape. When the convoy stopped the first evening, Narottama couldn't sleep. He was anxiously waiting for midnight. At the appointed hour, he slid silently from his bed. Creeping slowly through the camp, he saw that even the watchmen were asleep. This was his chance. His heart was pounding so loudly, he felt sure it would wake his guards. Sweat streamed from his forehead. He hardly dared even to breathe. Once he had cleared the camp, he crept through dense underbrush and then stood up in a forest. Narottama then ran like lightning through the jungle maze. Nothing now would stop him from finding his way to the holy land of Vrindavan. Now he doesn't have his suitcase, he doesn't have his 3 change of clothes and his toothbrush, and he has nothing, right? Just what's on his body. And he's going to go from Kittori, which is now in Bangladesh, so it's eastern India, and he's going to go to Vrindavan. It's not close. And he's the son of a king who's never really been outside of his courtyard. As the sun slowly arched through the sky, Narottam ran without a pause, oblivious to the intense heat. Sweat soaked his clothes and his throat was parched. He had no money, he had nothing to eat, nothing to drink. But he forced himself to continue, his mind focused on one thought only: Vrindavan. Despite the intense physical strain, Narottam's heart overflowed with joyful, ecstatic love. Days passed, and still Narottam ran, never daring to rest for more than an hour or two at a time. One late afternoon, he flopped down, utterly exhausted, under a tree. He turned his head sharply at the snapping of a twig in the nearby bushes. Someone was coming. He stood to run, but it was too late. He was surrounded by his father's hired guards. "Ah,
Oh no.
Rajkumar!" one of them called out. "We found you at last!"
Oh no.
Another scolded, "Do you realize that hundreds of men have been scouring the countryside for days looking for you? You must return to Kitori at once. Your parents are sick with anxiety." Another one said, "When your poor mother heard you had run away, she fainted." All the men nodded in disapproval at the distress Narottam had caused his parents. Narottam was genuinely sorry he had hurt them, but he knew he could not go back. He said gently, "I cannot return to Kitori with you. I am firmly resolved to go to Vrindavan. I am dedicating my life fully to the Supreme Lord." "Forget this madness," the senior man among them protested. "It's not fitting for a prince to behave like a vagabond." Narottam replied, "On the contrary, it would not be fitting for me to return to Kituri." Now listen to the example he's going to give. A faithful widow may decide to join her husband on his funeral pyre. "I have decided to climb the pyre of pure Krishna consciousness and leave my material life behind. It's not right for you to try to dissuade me." "Rajkumar, we can't return without you. What will your father say to us?" Another man pleaded. "Please forget all this and come home with us. Give life back to your suffering parents." Narottam was not daunted. He smiled sweetly and said, "When a woman wants to show her devotion to her dead husband in this extreme way, it's natural for her well-wishers to try to stop her. I understand you don't want me to enter the fire of God consciousness, but please understand that I would be less than a faithful servant of my Lord if I didn't attempt to enter that fire." Moved by Narottam's poetic analogy, the men on the search party stared his charming golden face. What could they say to this determined young boy? He was obviously not an ordinary person, and his resolution was clearly unshakable. Without even bidding the men goodbye, Narottam turned and resumed his journey. He was confident the men would be afraid to stop him, since he had made it clear his path was the one of the saints, and he was right. No one even called out a farewell. Narottam walked on and on, not knowing how much further he had to go to reach Vrindavan. He was exhausted and hungry, and his pallid, soft feet were blistered. His entire body ached with the exertion, but his attraction to Vrindavan pulled him forward. Though alone, he realized he wasn't lonely, being fully immersed in thoughts of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord himself was his travel companion. After many days of traveling, he was finally overtaken completely by fatigue. Dropping to his knees, he crawled for a short distance and then collapsed beneath a tree and fell asleep. Narottam awoke a short while later. Despondent, he beat the ground with his fists and lamented, "Oh Gaurachandra, Rupa, Sanatan, will I ever reach Vrindavan?" Seemingly from nowhere, a golden-skinned Brahmin boy suddenly appeared before him and offered him a pot of milk. "Drink this," the boy said. "It will take away your aches and pains." Narottama lifted his weary head to look at the boy, but he was much too tired to drink the milk. Again, sleep overcame him. This time, he had a vivid dream. Both Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami appeared. Glowing with the natural effulgence, the two brothers stood before him wearing sacred threads, tulsi mala, and beautiful tilaks. Their lips were curved into gracious smiles, and they chanted the holy names, counting the mantras on their fingers. Narottama could smell the sweet aroma of their bodies when they leaned over and placed their hands on his chest. Sri Rupa Goswami said, "Narottama, you are still a child, and you are also the son of a wealthy man. You have never experienced this kind of suffering, but we know Mahaprabhu has empowered you to flood the world with love of God and deliver the fallen conditioned soul. If you distribute this love, even the most sinful of men will be delivered. In the future, thousands and thousands of people will embrace Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching and thus attain love of God. So don't worry, your suffering will soon end. Seeing you so tired from your journey, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally brought that milk for you. Drink it, and then go on to Vrindavan." With these words, Rupa and Sanatana vanished. And it goes on. I only read this much. But I'm going to stop here. And I'm going to ask you to pick up your copy. There's only, how many are there? Maybe 20 books? Maybe something like 20 books are there, is it? And there's about 100 and something of you here. So maybe we do this right now. Who wants to get one of these books? All of them have a dedication. So you can come and get it. How do you want to do this? You want to write down, or will they come and give cash right away, or how do you want to do it?
Right away.
Best is if you just bring in exact change right away. How much are they?
68.
You have to say it to them.